And the first topic in that unit 3 is assessment of science teaching. And otherwise, if we had our normal days and not this new normal, we would have started with the same one, because what we expect our second year students, our expectations from them are, so as we will be going for the internship, which is not going to be happening now very recently, but I'm following the same pattern so that you have a clear idea of how you have to go about giving a test, okay? Because when you will be in your school for internship, hopefully very soon, then you will have to give or prepare a test, okay? You have to prepare a blueprint, you have to prepare a question paper, okay? All the other things associated with the achievement test preparation. This particular topic, that is 3.1, is very important, because it will allow you to understand what kind of questions, why questions are important, how you can, what kind of questions you can ask, how you can frame higher order questions. Okay, so such things will be easily understood by you all when you'll be able to, when you listen to this lecture. If you have any queries related to this, you can ask it at the end of the session. So I'll start. Assessment of science teaching. This is the name of the unit, and in that unit, the first subunit, that is 3.1, which is questioning. Okay, in which we'll be dealing with the functions of questioning, or the function of a question in particular, then different types of questions that as a teacher you can ask or probe in the class. How to frame questions under revised Bloom's taxonomy, that is RBT. I hope you all have a pretty good idea of revised Bloom's taxonomy. Uh, is everybody aware of revised Bloom's taxonomy? Different levels of the taxonomy. See, what I expect from you all is interaction. So I'll be asking few questions during the session or during the lecture. So I expect each one of you to please reply. It doesn't take much time to reply, because the questions will be very simple. Okay, I won't ask you all to explain anything, but I expect you to answer or reply to the question. Okay. So I assume that all of you, and as you all have also said, you are aware of RBT. So we'll be dealing with how we can frame questions using that RBT, and which are those higher order and lower order questions. And in particular, how to frame higher order questions, because we look at the higher order questions in a more, like, say, suppose if we are in a school, if we ask a very simple or a lower order question, the answers are very expected. Okay, but a higher order question, or when you frame a higher order question, the kind of answers as a teacher you expect, you can get a variety of them. So we need to focus on higher order questions. So we'll see what are those higher order questions and how we can frame them. So we'll be dealing with few examples of that as well. So, so the subunit is titled as questioning. So questioning is a critical skill used successfully of the most powerful tools for teaching and learning. So it is understood that questioning is very important. Now, even today, even now, when we are discussing this particular topic, I have asked you so many questions. And how are these questions helping me, or the way I ask questions related to the topic that we are dealing with is again an important thing. So as a teacher, it is very important that you ask the right question using the right language. You are clear about your, like, what exactly you are asking in the question. The question should be clear and it should be easily framed, like easily understood by the students. Okay, and it is the most powerful tool for teaching and learning. If you don't have anything else, no other tool, or maybe a teaching aid, this questioning can help you grasp attention of the students, or it can help you also engage them in the classroom in a better way. So the second point reads, questioning can take place throughout a lesson. Okay, so it basically tells you where you can ask questions. Like, is there any specific time during the lecture where you have to ask a question, or you can ask it throughout. So the answer to that question is, questioning can take place throughout a lesson, and it enables the student teacher to check the student's understanding. Okay, to help students think about and apply their learning. So these are basically the implications or the advantages of questioning. And it can also help students to share their ideas and to experience success in providing correct responses. So questioning can help you as a teacher and also the students in a number of ways. Okay, so these are the ways by which you can actually help the students understand or apply their learning. They can help you to check the students' understanding. It will help them to share their understanding and ideas and also experience success in, because see, when you ask a question and a student replies and the answer turns out to be a correct one, you give a reinforcement, isn't it, by saying excellent, very good. So the student experiences success, and this experience of success is very important for anybody to grow in life or to grow in whichever field they are working in, or even in a class. Okay, this is very much understood and felt by everybody that if someone praises you, you feel good, and whatever for which you're getting, like if you have done something and you've got a praise for that, you intend to do it once again. Okay, so this is how it is put together in the second point. Now, the third point is questioning should improve learning, not simply be a device for a student to display his or her knowledge. And this implies that a teacher should consider carefully the kind of questions that the kind of question that is being asked. Okay, so it's very important that the questions are not just asked for the sake of asking. Okay, so it should have some motive, it should have some objective behind it. It should not be only a device for a student to display. You don't ask questions like okay, we can take the examples maybe later so that you have a better understanding of it. So for now we should know that questions should not be only asked to check a student's knowledge or to display his or her knowledge, but there are various ways and there are various functions. So this aspect of questioning will cover up in the upcoming slides. Okay, so let us move to the second slide. Okay, can you see the second slide here? Okay, so here we are discussing about the functions and or purposes of asking questions in a science classroom. Now we are bothered about science classroom because we are learning about questioning in context to methodology of teaching science. So as a science teacher, how or in what way these questions can help you build or engage your students in the classroom in a better way. Okay, to start with, first one is to arouse interest and curiosity concerning a topic. So how these questions can help you, as we have already discussed, it will help you to arouse interest and curiosity. So if you ask proper questions at the right time, it can help you build your topic so that it can engage the students in the concerned topic that you're dealing with. Now, the second point is to focus attention on a particular issue or concept. So, say suppose if you're dealing with a very difficult topic and a part of which is something which you really want to focus on. Okay, so you can ask or have a questioning session or Q&A session with the students so that it can help bring their attention to that particular aspect of the topic. Okay, so when you discuss something through questioning, it can help us pay more attention to that issue or a concept. So it can help you do this as well. Third one is to develop an active approach for learning. Now, we all are aware what is an active approach or how it looks like in a regular classroom. I'm not talking about the online because the context of questioning in a regular classroom and an online classroom is very different. So considering our normal classroom situation, it helps develop an active approach to learning. As in when you ask questions, you have done your internship in the first year, so you are quite aware what kind of an environment is generated when you ask a question in the classroom. The question is very simple. You tend to see that all the students will raise their hands. If the question is a bit difficult, then very few students who are really paying attention to what you're talking would raise their hands. Okay, so it basically involves everybody. So if those who are not really sure about what answer they have to give for the question, they will definitely be in a confused state. But yes, they are thinking about it. So thinking again is an active process. So you are basically as a teacher involving everybody in the learning. So that's why we say that questioning helps develop an active approach to learning. And the fourth point is to diagnose specific difficulties inhibiting pupil learning. So when you ask a question, so it is a chain. Now, if you ask a question and which is answered by everyone, you know that this particular objective related to which you have asked the question is fulfilled because all of them have understood, because all of them have raised their hands and all of them wanted to answer. But when you ask a question related to a topic for which not many students are willing to answer or not many hands are raised, you understand that this is an area of the topic or this is an aspect of the concept which is not digested properly by the students. So you know the difficulties, which part of the concept is not being dealt properly or it is not understood properly by the students. So it helps you diagnose the difficulty. Okay. Then the fifth point is to provide an opportunity for pupils to assimilate and reflect upon information. So sometimes what happens is even now you all are listening to the lecture, but if I continue doing this for the next 15 minutes, without asking a question, at least 50% of you all will not even reflect on what is being discussed. Okay, so questions basically give a student or an audience or whoever that is listening an opportunity to reflect upon what information that is being transacted by a speaker to the audience, or in case of a classroom, from a teacher to the student and vice versa. Okay, so it's very important that the kind of questions that you ask will help students do that. Don't ask questions which has no meaning, no sense in it, or it is not related to the topic. So you have to give that opportunity to the students to assimilate. Okay, and other aspects are also being discussed, and we'll discuss few more related to questioning in the coming points. So, is it clear till now? Uh, is anyone having any issue in understanding the functions of purpose of questioning? Okay, so I'll continue. Now, the sixth point talks about it's help to students in developing thinking skills, isn't it? It's very simple. I did not even explain this. So when you, as a teacher, when you ask a question, it will definitely encourage the student to think in that particular direction, isn't it? So in a way, as a teacher, we are developing thinking skills, and it is said that as a teacher, we are not only supposed to teach them what to think, okay, but or guide them in terms of what to think, but we have to also teach them how to think, okay, which is again very important. So we need to guide their thinking process. We need to teach them how to think, okay, which is again a very important process, and which cannot be done in a class of half an hour or 1 hour, which requires really a tedious process and significant steps which are needed uh, to follow if we really want to achieve that particular goal or objective of teaching how to think. Okay, but to understand it at a superficial level, we all understand that it will help, definitely help students develop thinking skills because we are making them think. If not, even if not teaching them how to think, at least we are making them think, okay, in whichever way that they want to. Okay, so this questioning can help students at that level. Now, the next point is to give an opportunity to students to learn vicariously through discussion. So, I think this was taught to you all in your first year, wherein we discuss the skill of questioning, wherein we say that whenever you ask a question to the students in a classroom, you're not supposed to ask it to an individual. Okay, this is again a very important thing. You probe into the entire class. And when you probe into the entire class, each and every one in the classroom will take it as a question for them. Okay, so when you ask a question to an individual, the individual is only focused, and none of the students, apart from that person to whom you have asked the question, is thinking about the question. Okay, so it's very important that you give an opportunity to the students, all the students in the classroom, to learn through discussion. How you can do that? One way of doing it is by asking a question or probing a question to a group of students, okay, and making them discuss the answer, okay. Other thing is asking a question to the whole class, and instead of making groups, you can just ask them to discuss among the one who is sitting next to you, or making groups of students who are nearby, okay, or in proximity. Okay, this is how you can develop that ability of learning through discussion, which can be initiated using questions. Okay. Now, to challenge thinking. So, how we can use questions to challenge thinking? So, as we have already discussed, that it will help this questioning skill. This questioning will help students develop thinking skills. So, when the students are thinking in a particular direction, and you can ask again a question, a counter question to them, to check in which direction they are thinking. Okay, so when you know that we are thinking in a particular direction, that is A, and which is an incorrect direction in which they are supposed to think, okay, you can ask a challenging question, a counter question, which will make them change or shift their direction of thinking from A to B. Okay, so in a way, this questioning can also help you challenge their thinking pattern as well, which can help you change their thinking direction, the way they think, the context in which they are thinking. So all these aspects related to thinking can be challenged using questions. Now, it can also be used to revise previous content. So this is a basic tool that each one of us knowingly or unknowingly use. That whenever we enter a class, as a teacher, if I want to know how much is being covered in the previous class, or how much they have actually understood or learned or comprehended, I will ask questions. So this is basically a common tool. So this is very common that we use questions to revise the previous content. We go to the class and we ask students, this is what we have learned in the previous class. So tell me, what is this? Okay, so this is a common way by which all the teachers use questioning. And the last point in the functioning, the functions and purpose of asking question is questions can focus on processes and on products. Now, this is a very complicated point. The reason being the terms of processes, and there are students who are even now they are joining the class. Okay, I have admitted them. Uh, Fine. So the last point we were discussing, that questions can focus on processes and on products. Now, what are these processes and products according to you? Can I have some uh, answers to this question? What, according to you, is the process and product I'm talking about? Okay, content. In what way content you're saying? Okay, learning outcomes. Okay, content related processes. Yes, it can be a content. It can be content related processes, or we can put it this way as well. Say suppose with an example. I think with an example, it is always better to understand and also to teach. Definitely, questions can focus on processes. Say suppose I'm teaching about um, uh, a food chain, okay, or foodware. So if I am asking questions related, okay, we need to look at the product also. Can you all give any example? I'm not able to recollect any. Okay, okay, photosynthesis, fine. Vesey is saying photosynthesis. So according to Vesey, like how do you think? So tell me, what are the processes involved in photosynthesis? What questions you can ask related to the process of photosynthesis, which is again a concept here. Yes, anybody, may not be only Vesey. Any question that you can ask related to the process of photosynthesis? It would be nice if you can type in, okay, plants take in sunlight. So you can ask questions related to that, okay? How plants take in the sunlight, or what is the process involved. Very good. Anything about the product? Yes, very good. Miguel is saying elements required for photosynthesis. Very good. Anything about the product? Questions related to product? Okay, what kind of food is prepared by plants? Okay, or maybe how they use the food, how it is being transported, through what it is transported. Okay, what medium do plants use to transport the uh, product that is out of the process of photosynthesis? Okay, is it clear to everyone what the second point means? The last point means? Questions? Yes, okay. So questions can focus on processes and products. So I think I think it's already 1 o'clock and we have more time to discuss further. So I think we can take up the remaining slides in our next meeting. Okay, if you all have any questions related to the topic or the content that we could cover today, please ask it in the chat box. Any clarification or if any questions you all have? I don't want to start with the next slide because it has many points and I would need another 15 minutes to cover it up. So we can, as we already discussed, that we can keep last 5 minutes of our class for the discussion or the questions. So if you have any, please ask it in the chat box. Okay. So whatever that was discussed today, is it clear to everyone? If there are no questions, I assume that you all understood what was being discussed. Okay, so just for your information that whatever that we'll be covering through online classes, I will make it sure that all the topics that I would be covering, if at all if you're fortunate enough to resume our classes in our college, well and good. If not, even if you have to continue like this, after every topic, or at least if not after every topic, after every unit at least, I'll be giving you all a test. Okay, it would be a objective test. Okay, wherein I'll be asking questions related to the topic that are being covered during a given time about related to the unit. Okay, like when I finish unit 3, I'll be having a test which will have questions related to all the subtopics that I have covered, and all of you will have to answer them. Okay, and I'll be giving marks accordingly to each one of you, because only very few of you all have joined the session, and I really don't know how many of you uh, have really listened and how many of you all are really listening. So it's very important for me to know that you have understood it well. So this is one of the things that I wanted to share. So I have 2 more minutes to end the class. So if any questions or queries are there, please let me know. Okay. Tanya she's having a question. Ma'am, as per the last point, can we say that the products of photosynthesis, for example, oxygen, is actually the product we are talking about? See, what does the last question is? Yeah, we have done is the last point here. What it says that questions can focus on processes and on products. Now, why we are focusing on this aspect of what you are saying, that oxygen is the last product? What is the meaning of it? So, as a teacher, when we ask question in the classroom, so we can look at the concept. Now, related to, need not be always, not every concept that you might deal in the classroom will have a process and a product. It is just for you all to understand that process as in a thinking process. Thinking process, now we have related this particular process to the content, and the content topic that we have taken here is photosynthesis. So it is all what you call content dependent. Now, if you are teaching a topic wherein there is nothing called a product and a process, then you can shift that particular understanding of the last point to another way, as in, say suppose if I'm teaching something which has no processes or products involved in it, I can talk about their understanding. So I can consider as a thinking. Say suppose I can ask questions, I can maybe, or I can use the questions to check how much they have understood. Okay, that is related to the process. And product would be using questions to check how much they have understood after the after the topic is being taught. So if I'm asking the questions at the end of the session, like how I'm doing right now, like I'm asking you all how much you have understood. So this is a question related to the product. So how much you have actually understood the topic. Okay, in the process, as in during formative and summative. So I'm basically relating it to formative and summative type of questioning. Okay, there are various intricacies associated with this particular concept of questioning. Okay, so you always need not relate it to the concept. Okay, this is just an example for you. Otherwise, also you can use it. It can be related to the thinking process, anything. Okay, is it clear, Tanya? Don't get confused with the example here. Yeah, okay, fine. Any other questions? So I think it's already one. So I would like to thank all of you for joining the class. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for your patient listening. Yeah. And I request all of you to please leave the class. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you, everyone.